Good morning, everyone. It's Pastor Mike at New Life, Grant, Alabama. We can trust the gospel. Romans 10:9 through 10 says that if you confess with your mouth Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. For it is with your heart that you believe and are justified, and it is with your mouth that you confess and are saved. For everyone who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved. I love to tell a little story. I've told it my whole ministry. It's a story of mud pies and a dead goose. One day, a boy was in the backyard at his grandmother's house, and he was throwing rocks when, unfortunately, one of the rocks went right and to the head of the prize goose of the grandmother, and the goose fell dead. The little sister saw that, and she saw an opportunity, so she ran up to her brother as he hid the dead goose behind a little outbuilding. And she said, "Okay, if you don't play house with me and make mud pies with me, I'm going to tell grandmother that you killed that goose." So for day after day, he made mud pies and played house and did all of the things little boys don't really enjoy doing, because his sister had him over a barrel. Finally, he couldn't stand it anymore. His grandmother was sitting on the porch. He gathered himself and walked straight up the steps and looked at his grandmother and said, "Grandma, I was playing in the backyard and threw a rock, and I don't know how it happened, but it hit your goose right in the head, and I hid it behind the little building in the back of the yard." His grandmother picked him up and put him on her lap, and she said, "I know, and I wish I had 10 more just like you. Now you go on and play." So as he was coming around to the backyard, his little sister said, "Okay, it's time to make mud pies, or I'm going to tell grandmother about that goose." And he said, "What goose?" You know, forgiveness is a wonderful truth from God. How do you stand guilty before the judgment seat? And the righteous demands of the law must be met, yet mercy reigns. Salvation is of the Lord, for only the Lord could have devised it. And so he felt free that day. He had been forgiven. The first thing I want to say about the good news of the gospel means good news. I want to say that confession means to say the same words. What God wants us to do is to confess with our mouth. He wants our heart engaged, for out of the abundance of the heart the mouth speaketh. He wants us to confess. And if we do that, we can rely on the faithful nature of God. That is an important statement to our hearts, that he is like that old grandmother. He is willing to pick us up and accept us, brush us off, and start us on our way, if we'll just trust in him. So the faithful nature of God is the thing that is engaged when we confess. And then there is just a statement from heaven: you will be saved. Oh my goodness. All those that confess with their mouth and believe in their heart, the faithful nature of God is such that he will justify us and he will save us. It's not something we do. It's not something we can do for ourselves. It's only something he does. So as we look through history and all those who have heard the good news, you don't have to just believe me. There are many witnesses. You can see the church at work, the body of believers, all through history. And there are many great names to follow and many great books to read that testify to the fact that you can trust the gospel.